I am so glad you decided to join Huda's Career Info, episode 19. My guest today is Wayne Pagani. He is a career development professional with over 25 years of coaching experience, serving people with diverse backgrounds internationally. Wayne has assisted over 1,000 clients with career or life objectives, develop effective action plans in order to achieve their life aspirations and career goals. This is combined with over 14 years of business experience in the transportation industry, where Wayne was responsible for managing operations and maximizing employee engagement. And he will hear a lot more about this in today's episode. In addition, Wayne brings over 10 years of counseling experience working with clients in residential facilities to foster personal growth. What you would like to know probably about Wayne is he also facilitates inspirational workshops and services to clients seeking solutions in all sectors of business and community. He has delivered customized trainer programs for career and employment service organizations. What is more interesting as well is that as a former level 2 football coach for 7 years, a yoga instructor now for the past 6 years, Wayne offers a holistic perspective to supporting people in developing greater self-awareness in this ever-changing world. His holistic approach to supporting people empowers them by providing resources and connections to others to help realize and fulfill their career or life aspirations. I can't wait for you to hear and watch my conversation with Wayne and let me know what you think.
Career development for me is all about an integrated process of career and life. We're living in a time of transformation on this planet that has been probably more intense than any other from a standpoint of time, speed, pace. For all of us to learn both individually as well as collectively, where can we take better care of ourselves, but better care of the world around us as well. Many of us invest way more time in the purchase of a new home or possibly a new vehicle than we ever do in our career until we need to, until there's a crisis. Don't wait until the tsunami hits. Businesses have boards of directors. Why can't we have that to help us sort of imagine and get guidance and direction of where we're going in our careers and our lives?
It's my privilege to have you, Wayne, as my guest on Huda's Career Info. I'm looking forward to a fun and informative conversation, starting with your background. Like many career development professionals, you have transitioned from a different career path to get to the career development field. Can you tell us a little bit about your background and what led you to the field?
Certainly, yeah. And thank you for having me today, Hoda. I think your mandate is very, very well much needed and very much aligned, I think, with trying to get the word out about career development. And I guess like many career development professionals, a lot of our background started somewhere else and kind of led us on our journey to where we are today. And mine is also of that same path, which started really in the transport industry. I grew up as a bit of a trucking brat, so to speak. My father worked in the trucking industry for over 30 years and worked his way into senior executive roles with one of the largest carriers in North America, actually, and the largest international carrier at the time was Maisland Transport. And so that's where I started my career. kind of landed by default, I think, more than anything else. And for about 11 to 12 years, climbed ladders and moved my way up through the transport industry, but kept running into a brick wall. And ultimately that wall had to do with lack of fulfillment and satisfaction in the work that I was doing. Although I was very good at it, I developed what we call those can-do skills. And maybe because I had been around it all my life, it just came naturally to me, but there was something more. And ultimately I made a transition with the help of an organization called the Management Executive Resource Center in Montreal, and started working initially in social type of services. So that included 5 years with addictions and substance abuse, working in those facilities. I was a residential counselor and follow-up and relapse prevention counselor for a number of years. And that led to working with the correctional community here in Ottawa, where I am today. And then there was an opportunity to work in the employment and to help those same people to get reintegrated back into community and employment. So that's kind of what landed me here. And then there's roughly about 20 years now of community-based services. And for the last 14 years, my private shingle with WP Consulting and Associates.
That's a very rich background, and to bring all that experience into the career development field is something we're going to talk a little bit about later. But as you mentioned, I do what I do because I want to have the term career literacy trending and everybody talking about it. What for you is the term? If I was to ask you for your career term, what would be the key messages within it? And of course, as related to career development and the services that you offer.
Yeah, that's a great question. And I've had time, obviously, to ponder that as well. And I think when you first asked me about that, what struck me was that just organically over the years, as I've worked with clients and organizations and groups and collaborated with career development professionals across the country, is that the sort of central piece has always been about the career life integrated aspect. So all the holistic experiences that I've brought from my life and career experience come into play, I think, when I'm working with clients. And from a career literacy perspective, I think it's really starting to disengage from that work-life balance pursuit that we have in everything that we do, because I don't think there's a perfect formula that works for everyone. It's not a cookie cutter model, so to speak. It's really very contingent on the individual and how we're wired and the life experiences we have and where we are in that life path at any given time, that I think can really have an integral effect on how we make decisions about what we also do with our careers and occupations and vocation, so to speak, if we're ultimately fulfilling our calling. So it would be that, I think, more than anything else, Hoda, is that really career development for me is all about an integrated process of career and life.
I like that. And I always think of the whole person theory when we are talking about career development as well. And with that in mind, with the whole person, we are living right now in I don't know, do we want to call it pandemic or post-pandemic? We don't know where we're at right now, but there are many challenges. What do you see as some of the main challenges in these times for the people we serve, but also for the career development industry in general?
Yeah, so the term whole person actually is embedded, it used to be embedded at least. We're in the process of rebranding. I'll talk about that in a little bit, but on the front page of our website, which really looks at as the individual as holistic, so many different aspects of who we are. And we're living in a day and age, I think, not just the pandemic or, like you say, wherever we are on that timeline of whatever post-pandemic is even going to look like. I'm starting to read articles now that are saying, here's what there actually is going to be a post-pandemic, and here's what it may look like when we cross that bridge. But I think more than anything, we're living in a time of transformation on this planet that has been probably more intense than any other, from a standpoint of time, speed, pace. Although the pandemic for many of us slowed life down to a certain extent, technology, so many changes that are happening around social injustices and equity, diversity, and other aspects of who we are as individuals and where we fit in the world are changing dramatically. And in a way, I think that we've never seen before, and accelerated at a very high pace. So I think this is the big challenge. I think that the pandemic is just one layer that has given us an opportunity to step back, and I think from a career development perspective is starting to recognize the greater need for self-care and mental health. I've listened to your interview with David Repkoff, and just tremendous insights, I think, about why this is such a critical piece. And so I think that's the big piece here when we talk pandemic, post-pandemic, is for all of us to learn, both individually as well as collectively, where can we take better care of ourselves, but better care of the world around us as well.
So I am going to pick a little bit on this and say, ask you for specific recommendations, perhaps, that you, for anyone affected by these challenges. You're saying take care of yourself, and can you give us a little bit more detail on that?
Yeah, so I think for those that are in career transition, career exploration, or that we would consider to be either clients or maybe people that we're working, helping, supporting, whether that's in a voluntary capacity or in our own professional services, is to take a step back, and there's some really simple, basic methods that we work with from a variety of different disciplines. So being a certified yoga instructor, depending on the individual and their needs, we will look at everything from breath work to mindfulness to being in the moment to recognizing different ways that they might be dealing with some of the more difficult situations in their life, including obviously the pandemic. There's, I think, in one of the models we have is called the Me First. It comes from the book written by Betty Healy, If I Should Wake Before Me First, If I Should Wake Before I Die. And in there, or sort of an offshoot of that, was a playbook, which I actually work with clients. I have multiple copies of the playbook, and we sometimes will integrate that into their service plan. But I can tell you, I meet people often through venues like this, Hoda, whether it's Connexus or some of the other really great professional development events and networking events that we have access to. And it's not unusual to make a connection with someone and just learn that they're maybe challenged in some of the ways that the Me First model would be extremely helpful to. And so I'm not adverse to sending that off to folks as well. So one of the methods is called the 1% rule. So just, as an example, and 1% rule essentially asks the question of how much time is 1% of every day. And can you, regardless of your situation and maybe lack of time, to be able to take time for self, dedicate 1%. And that 1% equates to 14.4 minutes. So for some of us, that might be a 15-minute break in the middle of the day, just to stop. Or maybe, I had a client once ask me when I was working in the correctional facilities that I was working with, asked me what meditation is. And I said, well, can you explain one activity that brings you bliss, where time is suspended, where everything else doesn't matter? It's just you and there's no other worries or concerns. And for him, it was playing Frisbee with his dog. I said, this is meditation. And so the 1% rule simply says to take this kind of time so you disconnect from all of our digital and electronic, disconnect from all the worries and details, disconnect and focus on whatever it is that really takes care of you. For some people, that might be bookending it. Maybe it's starting your day with 7 minutes of intentions. What kind of day do you want to have? How will your job search look? Or maybe a career exploration. And at the end of the day, taking another 7 to 8 minutes of acknowledgement. What showed up? What are the things that are starting to support that individual in terms of their journey and the vision that they have for themselves and their lives?
I had not heard of it as the 1% rule. Like, I know taking 15 minutes, what I tell my clients, of reflection. But when you said 1%, I thought, okay, how many minutes is that a day? So 15 minutes is definitely a good idea. I agree. And to have that, simplify it in that playing with your dog is a bliss. That's a great idea as well.
And that's just the starting point. like this, that, if it's new to you and the idea of self-care is maybe a little bit of a stretch, it's a way of taking a stepping stone to a place where you can get into a more regular routine of making sure that you're reconnecting and recharging. The biggest thing in careers for me is that so many people are, as you know, based on the name of your organization, are not in the right fit. And when that happens, what ends up happening is you're not being re-energized. It's like emptying the well, but you're never refilling it again to the point where now you can, on a consistent basis, go in and engage in whatever it is that your vocation or occupation might be. Now, that's for the individuals that we may be serving, or people who are in transition. I guess my suggestion to those of us that are in the career development field would be to look at the resources, networks, organizations, and connections like the CCDFs, the STERICs, the Career Professionals of Canada, of the world, where we have community and opportunity to grow and connect and develop ourselves as individuals. For those that are in the career development field, I think that the CPC, one of their newest courses and certifications is called the Work Life Strategist. And it's really all the things that we're talking about right now, of looking at how do you bring all of that in addition to more of the traditional career development mindset to serve the clients that you serve.
Absolutely, I agree. Being involved in our organization has been good for me, particularly during pandemic, where we're having Zoom calls and just pumping each other up just to stay motivated and positive, for sure. I know you have new projects going on and you have some new ideas, I guess. Can you tell us about a new project that you're involved in currently or going into 2022?
So to be honest, right now, the biggest project is me. I've had a bit of here we are talking about self-care, and it's been a bit of a rusty year health-wise for me. I've just had a gallbladder removal, and I'm on the mend at the moment. And so priority one is really for me to practice what I preach, and that's to step back. So I started really by building back into coming into the office and working with clients and organizations on half days for about a week and a half after I had already taken a week and a half of sabbatical from the business and everything else. Really, it was to take time away. So the next step in that, I think, nurturing process is for me to also take some downtime in nature, and to do the things that I couldn't do as I was healing. And to be out doing, those things. It's been with the pandemic, obviously, a more difficult time for us to do some of those things. You were talking to me about the hiking and canoeing and, those kinds of opportunities earlier, since we've had such a great summer. So that's really project one. And the reason for that, Hoda, is that we're in the process of rebranding the business and starting to look at how do we take what has been at WP Consulting and Associates. Traditionally, it was built on the premise of connecting people with people, resources, and opportunities. And we do that through a collaborative with other associates, not just in career development, but in other areas of expertise, so that where our expertise begins and ends, or where my competency begins and ends, we are able to pass people on to other professionals who can serve them. And so now that we're expanding to look more at career development, life integration, health, self-care, and some of the different practices that can help individuals and organizations to be more mindful, more consciously communicating, as well as improving the methodologies that they work with in terms of taking care of themselves, then we're looking at just bringing that in. So that's the big project for us in 2022, is to, one, do the rebrand, the rebuild on our activity online, but also in terms of some of the initiatives that we get involved with in collaborative projects with some of the colleagues that we have across the country. Oh, and there is one right now. So the other offshoot, I wear several hats, as you know, is that I'm currently in the process of delivering a 2-part webinar series for mentors who are mentoring internationally educated professionals that are integrating into the Ottawa market, to help them with what's called mentoring to employment. So my colleague Doris Haddad and I deliver the workshop on what used to be live in person is now a 2-part series webinar. So that's always in development, and we're just making some adjustments to that piece as well.
Well, wasn't going to mention your surgery, but I want to thank you for, being part of this show when you haven't really fully recovered and transitioned into full-time work. So thank you so much. And yes, lots of projects going on, and I just want to wish you the best with that. It's all good work that we're trying to do, and you, having international clients transition into Ottawa is a great purpose for sure. I've got one more question for you, and it's actually a 2-part question. And just because I always encourage my clients to have mentors, and you also already talked about, a course for mentoring as well. And so what has been, the first part of the question is, what has been the most significant factor in your own personal journey, whether it's professional development or in having your business grow? And the other part is, if you don't mind sharing, who has been your greatest influencer or mentor in this journey?
So to answer the first part, one of the things that I hadn't really thought about until as you were asking the question right now is that, and this is true, I think, for all of us, is that maybe the most influential aspect of my career in life has been the experiences that I've experienced in my career in life, even those that brought me the most angst at the time. So hitting that wall in the transport industry, going back now almost 30 years ago, served me well. It prepared me for something better at a later time in my life and in my career, as well as some of the other life and career experiences that I've had that led me to some of the more holistic models, disciplines that today I share with people as part of the services that I offer. But I would say that absolutely the big turn in terms of my private practice came when I connected with Sharon Graham and the Career Professionals of Canada, because at the time I was a team lead in community-based services working for what's called a practice firm. So for those that are listening, it's a practice firm is a simulated business model where clients, there's roughly between 20 to 30 people working in an environment that's similar to the jobs that they're seeking employment in. And it's an employment program. It was at the time run by Employment Ontario, and there were many of them around the world, not just here in Canada. And while I was working there, it was around the time that I had started taking steps. I was working part-time on contract, and it ultimately in 2006 really took just exploded in terms of business opportunities as a result of my connection to Career Professionals of Canada. And ultimately I had so much private business that I needed to leave my full-time job, despite feeling absolutely torn, because I loved what I was doing there, but I also loved this new opportunity. So that was 2007, Hoda, and every step along the way, from the initial launch to building my business to all the way through to where I am today, I would propose that that CPC, people like Maureen McCann and Sharon and just all the members have been a huge part of the growth and development of WP Consulting and Associates, but for me as well as an individual. And then the second question you asked were the mentors. So I've talked about a couple of them in that response. I mentioned Betty Healy earlier from the Road Signs with Me, the Me First book that I mentioned earlier. She and her husband, Jim Healy, have been absolutely tremendous, had a tremendous influence. Betty was also my personal and business coach along the way for several years. But I was fortunate in almost every aspect of the different industries that I've worked in. So when I first started in the transport industry and I came in, I was living in some big shoes. I had to fill the shadow of my dad, who was well known across at least Eastern North America in the transport industry. And there was a young man at the time. He was older than I was, but he was an operations manager by the name of Guy Girard, who took me under his wing and recognized that the expectation level for me to perform was just off the charts. And he was just absolutely the best coach or guide that I could ever ask for in my time in that industry, because he not only had the knowledge and experience, he brought that very unique soft skill or competency that we always encourage our clients to develop as they're starting to look for where they fit into the world of work. And he brought all of that to the table in helping me to kind of get my career launched and get started. And then as I journeyed to the next level, when I went into substance abuse and addictions, and I was an addictions counselor, Richard and Gina Hoffman in Montreal at the time, who ran an organization called the Personal Growth Center. I was under their tutelage, and just a remarkable experience of not just the hands-on experience that I had working with them, but the training that they provided and gave me access to during that time to receive my substance abuse and addictions counseling certification. They became obviously personal friends as well over the years, but I've just been blessed with a lot of really great people along the way that have mentored and taken me along the journey of where I am to my career and my life today.
Thank you so much, Wayne, for your willingness to share this, the names of so many people. Now I have to go look them up and have a chat with them. Maureen was obviously the one who introduced us, so we have to give her a thank you for that right here. Thank you, Maureen. And Sharon, I've heard of her, and she's, to me, I have never, gotten the opportunity to chat, but she is definitely a role model for the Canadian, I guess, coaching field.
Yeah, I would absolutely agree. I can't say enough about either of those folks in our field. Yeah.
Thank you so much for your time, Wayne. These are all the questions I have for you. Was there anything else you wanted to add before we wrap up, or anything you want to say?
No, I think we're coming to the close of the year, and I would just remind not just the the folks that are looking at career exploration, career transition, or dealing with job search issues, but also all of us as career development professionals to step back and take time. I always say to folks, sort of my motto is, many of us invest way more time in the purchase of a new home or possibly a new vehicle than we ever do in our career until we need to, until there's a crisis. And so I guess my suggestion to that is, don't wait until the tsunami hits. See it coming, take time to step back, reflect. Where are you in your life, in your career, and what are your aspirations, so that if there's additional help you need, there's help to be had. And it doesn't always have to look like a career professional service necessarily, although obviously that's what we do, so we would promote that. But it can be anything. It might be a career buddy, or I often promote the idea of businesses have boards of directors. Why can't we have that to help us, sort of imagine and get guidance and direction of where we're going in our careers and our lives, and to not try to do it in isolation or alone. Career Development Month in Canada is coming up in November, so watch for all the great events that are going to be coming up. CCDF will be promoting them. Career Professionals of Canada will be promoting them. People like you and I will be making our contribution in whatever we can to make that month and help people to understand career literacy, but also what it means for them as individuals. So thank you for having me, Hoda.
I love your use of career literacy there at the end, and I appreciate it.
Hashtag.
Thank you so much, Wayne.
My pleasure. Thank you. Take care. We'll talk again soon.
For sure.
Okay. Bye for now.
I feel the need to add one more detail to Wayne's bio, which is that he's an amazing networker. Thank you, Wayne, for helping me expand my network, many of whom are professionals who have graciously agreed to be guests on Hoda's Career Info. As I wrap up this episode, whether you are a career professional or a career seeker, I hope you put Wayne's advice to good use and let us know how it worked for you. You can connect with Wayne Pagani on WP Consulting and Associates website, developcareers.ca, and on LinkedIn. And finally, a reminder that you can also listen to Hoda's Career Info, since it is also dropped as a podcast. I am your host, Hoda, and until next time, keep moving in productive ways. Oh, and what's your goal for this week?